This was always going to be a game where a few changes were mooted, and that has come to pass. There are two for Liverpool this evening. Let's show you the Reds' starting lineup in full, and those two changes are in come Cody Gakpo and Kostas Tsimikas. Out go this evening Luis Diaz and Andy Robertson. So the Reds' starting lineup in number order for you this evening. Alisson in goal, made it very clear on his thoughts. The extra games in the new format this season, speaking to the media last night, but also stated just how good it feels for the team to be back in the Champions League this season. Virgil van Dijk playing his 50th game for Liverpool in Europe this evening. The skipper lines up alongside Ibou Konate once again this evening. Dominic Szoboszlai plays his 50th game for Liverpool this evening on a slot. Did say in his press conference yesterday he'd like to see Szoboszlai's attacking numbers increasing this season. Alexis McAllister also continues for the Reds in midfield tonight. Mo Salah starts. No one thrives, do they? More on this stage than Mo Salah. 41 Champions League goals for Liverpool to his name. That is incidentally the highest tally any player has recorded for an English club, and he was on target the last time these two sides met here in a 2-1 win for Liverpool, you will remember, in the San Siro back in December 2021. Cody Gakpo gets his first start for Liverpool this season tonight here against AC Milan. Diogo Jota continues up front. Kostas Tsimikas comes in for Andy Robertson, and the starting 11 is completed by Ryan Gravenberch and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Eyes too on the bench tonight for Liverpool, because amongst the subs, Federico Chiesa making his Reds debut. Arne Slot did say in his press conference, definitely too early fitness-wise still for him to be able to start a game, but certainly capable of some minutes off the bench. So that is the Liverpool team that will run out here in the San Siro against AC Milan tonight. It is the Reds' fifth visit to this stadium, and they have won 3 of the previous 4. So fingers crossed, a happy hunting ground once again tonight. Back to you for now.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah, boys, we'll get to the team in a moment, but first let's talk about the competition as a whole. Gary, is it fair to say that Liverpool brings something to the Champions League, and the Champions League tends to bring the very best out of Liverpool as well?
Well, I think when you look back through the years and the history of Liverpool Football Club, much of it really has been built on European success and like how well we have done in this competition. Not just this competition, but the other European competitions as well. So it's a massive part for us to be back in it. It was expected of us last season to go all the way in the Europa League. It didn't quite happen. We came up against an Atalanta side that really played really well at Anfield and surprised us a little bit. Our last game, obviously, in Europe was last season against Atalanta in Atalanta, which we won. It'd be nice to think that we could go to Italy again and get the same result. But when you look at European football, these are two giants of European football coming together in the first game of the Champions League in 24-25, and it's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's it. Whatever shape either side is in at the moment or not in, the names, you can't sort of shake off the history. It's two absolute behemoths of football.
Yeah, they're absolute monsters of European football, and you know the history of both clubs, like Gary said, is there for all to see. You know the games that they've played against each other have always been entertaining. There's been plenty of goals. You know, obviously going back to the Istanbul one is just a prime example of the games that these two clubs have come together. But you know tonight is a fantastic start, a great opportunity for both teams where form, you know, in the league is obviously AC Milan is a little bit tougher than Liverpool. Liverpool have off the back of a disappointing result this weekend, but you know everything goes out the window now, and it's all concentrating on the Champions League tonight.
OK, yeah, we'll touch on Istanbul, as you probably would have expected, a little later in the programme. In terms of the here and now, though, it is the Champions League. It's a Champions League with a different look to it this time round. They have rejigged the format once again, which has happened a few times during its history. Let's run through the key points of what has changed. So it used to be 32 clubs, it's now 36 clubs, and rather than all the groups, it's one big table initially, one big group to begin with. All teams will play 8 matches rather than 6 previously, 4 at home, 4 away. They won't play the same team home and away. It's different sides within those 8 fixtures. By the end of it, once all the games are played, the top 8 teams progress automatically to the last 16, and they'll be seeded for the last 16 as well. The teams 25th to 36, well, they are out, and out of Europe altogether as well. There's no parachute into the Europa League, as was previously the case for the third place teams in the groups. You are gone. And then for the teams in the middle, but then you go into the playoff round, play home and away, and the teams that finish higher, the first 8 of those teams are seeded within those ties. The other teams are unseeded. The winners of those then go through to play the teams that finished 1 to 8th. And then from that point, it's a normal knockout system, and crucially, there is no country protection. So you get through into any of those games, the knockout stage, you could face another English side. I think that's just about explained it. Are we getting to grips?
You sure?
There was a lot of sort of scepticism initially, I think, Gary. People fear change, don't like change, they get into a way of that things are. Has it become more appealing now it's got here, when you saw the draw, you saw some of the teams and how it would work?
I don't know if it's become more appealing. I think for me the cream will always rise to the top, so I don't expect it to be any different from previous years. I think you'll see the mighties like Bayern Munich, the likes of Juventus, I don't know if Juventus are in it, but Liverpool, Real Madrid, all these top teams, most of the English teams you would expect maybe to get it. The ideal scenario for Liverpool is to finish in that top 8 because you don't want to play an extra couple of games. So I think that's the ideal scenario. That's the group that we have, and you would like to think, you know, that we could get enough points that would get us into the top 8 from that group. Real Madrid is always a cracking fixture, isn't it? They've been our nemesis for like so many years in Champions League. It'll be interesting to see how we get on with them. Milan, again, we're talking about Milan being like a giant of European football, and maybe not quite at that level at this moment in time where they are with performance-wise in Serie A. I think they won the first game at the weekend. So, but you know, they're all big games, and as I say, you want to finish in that top 8 to save yourself a couple of games.
On face value, it's those games in November that look the trickiest, albeit they're both at Anfield. Leverkusen after their success in Germany last season. Madrid, of course, are the name in this competition. That Madrid game also comes in the same week as the game against Manchester City, so that adds an extra dynamic to it. What I think is interesting, we were sort of looking at things before we came in. Now you're in one big group table. Every game matters, doesn't it? Like, you can't just dismiss things. There'll always be that extra element of jeopardy, perhaps, and a question mark of what points tally will actually take you through to the last 16, whereas before it was perhaps easier to gauge how you were doing in the tournament. Yeah,
I think, you know, the old format now is that, you know, you were looking probably roughly around 9 points, 10 points to probably go through. You're looking at the table before with 36 teams in, and now you're always looking over your shoulder, and instead of it taking maybe 3 or 4 games to get yourself qualified, it could now take maybe 5, 6, touching maybe 7, depending on obviously how you start off in the first couple of games. But, you know, looking at the fixtures for Liverpool, if you out of the 8, if you were going to pick people to play at home, you know, the Leverkusens of Real Madrid, I think they're fantastic opportunities for Liverpool to really put out a statement, you know, show exactly the rest of the groups and whatever, to try and show what we are in this European colossal, you know, and one to really look forward to as fans as well. I think the atmosphere that Liverpool creates at Anfield, and now obviously with the 60,000 as well, they could be real electric nights. But, you know, a big game tonight to try and get points on the board early doors.
The exciting thing is you get to play more teams, I guess, at least, depending on whatever your views on the actual way that the tournament pans out. You get to go to some fantastic stadiums as well. And that, if you're a supporter, things like this, trips to the San Siro, are what this is all about, isn't it, Gav?
Well, I think so. I think that is the one thing, isn't it? You get the chance to maybe play the bigger clubs earlier on in the competition, whereas before it was all kind of seeded and you were going to like unknown kind of places, like playing like lower echelons of like European football. So yeah, you're thrown into the big time here, aren't you, like against AC Milan? But I do think that ultimately, and we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out. I mean, like we said, Jay just said there that 9-10 points in the old format could see you through. Nobody really knows exactly how it's going to pan out, but after this year, they will know, because like you've got a rough indication like how many points will get you into the top 8 and so forth. But yeah, I think it does give you the opportunity to play the bigger clubs earlier on in the competition. But let's not hide behind the fact that it's more games. It's something like 64 more games, isn't it, something like that, in the whole competition, which will bring in quite a revenue stream for like UEFA.
Yeah, that might come up later on in the show. I don't think all players have been too happy about the increased workload that this new format will bring up. Just in terms of tonight's game and the team that's been picked, perhaps to be expected a couple of changes given the games we've had and the exertions of the weekend as well. Yeah,
of course. And, you know, if you look at the changes that he's made, obviously Robertson coming out and Diaz coming out, Could you say you're a little bit surprised? To be honest, I am a little bit surprised that Diaz especially has come out, you know, with the form he's shown over the last couple of games, especially in the Premier League. He's shown the quality, you know, he's been probably one of our most threatening players going forward. The Tsimikas one, you know, we're not too sure, obviously, the details of Robertson. He's played a lot of minutes coming back from injury as well.
Didn't have a lot of pre-season.
Didn't have a lot of pre-season, of course, yeah. So, you know, this maybe rotation leading into the weeks coming forward. So yeah, we expected changes. Diaz one for me, to be honest, is a little bit of a surprise. Maybe could have seen a few more, but I'm sure there'll be subs throughout the game as well.
But with that man, Cody Gakpo had a fantastic tournament with the Netherlands at the Euros, and then probably wanted to hit the ground running come the start of the season. Hasn't been able to do it, so he's probably going to jump in at the bit.
Hasn't really been given the opportunity, has he? He's looked lively when he's come on. It hasn't really affected the game that much in a couple of appearances, but he's certainly got the ability. Interestingly, like, obviously sees him as a left-sided midfield attacking player, whereas Jurgen played him as that false number 9. I think the jury's still quite out on Cody Gakpo from that wide left position. I know he scored goals in the Euros, but it was only 3 at the end of the tournament, which wasn't a phenomenal amount. But in saying that, I think he scored something like 16 for us last season, which from a player playing in a number of different positions was a real good return for the season.
Yeah, I think common consensus in Holland is that Gakpo is a wide left player, and perhaps no surprise that Arne Slot has kind of gone along with that in playing him there. And just finally, Fede Chiesa was in the group for the first time. You've seen a little bit of him kicking around the training ground. What have you made of him?
Do you know what? He's a very nice guy. He speaks good English. He obviously had the fortunate opportunity to train with him over the last 2 weeks over the international break. He's worked his absolute socks off. He's been a real credit to himself, and you know, he's been brilliant with the lads as well. I think he's been itching it a bit, you know, towards the end of the week when he was getting closer with the first team players getting back in. You know, he wanted to really get out there and show what he's about, but I think it's a fantastic addition to the club, and especially for the price that we got him in as well. I think it's a fantastic bargain, and one that we can, you know, hopefully get a few minutes tonight and show what he's about.
He can get up and running back on home soil, of course, back in Italy. OK, we can hear from the manager now. And Arne Slot is relishing the task of taking charge of Liverpool in Europe for the first time on what is his 46th birthday.
I think it's the first time that my birthday is not so important tomorrow. It's a big game, not for me, yeah, also for me, but it's a big game for us because it's the first game and it's the next game, and the next game is always the most important one, as you know. But because of the history of this, that these two teams have, and the venue where it's played in, it's one to look forward to. We have a lot of respect for the quality and the players and the history of Milan. So, yeah, the first one that comes to my mind is, of course, a Dutch player, Tijani Reinders, who's done really well over here and also for the Dutch national team last week. So they have quality players who we do respect. All of their players, because they've shown last Saturday that they're in good form, had a very good 4-0 win.
In the old Champions League format, if you won your home games or got to 10 points, there was a fair chance that you would qualify. I'm just intrigued to think how many points you think might be required in this new phase, and also what are your thoughts about the revamped Champions League format?
Oh, a lot of questions in one. I think it's difficult for me to tell you now how many points are needed, because yeah, it's the first time we play this competition and it's 8 games. So I've been in Europe for a few years with my former clubs, and sometimes we went through to the next round. I think one time even with 6 points or 7 points, and we ended up number 1 in the group. So that is difficult to say before you start. But I think it's clear that if you want to end up in the first 8, you have to win a lot of games. You need a lot of points. And what I think about the format, that's also something you can ask me better in the end. The only thing I like about it, just as someone who loves to see football every night on television, is that on every night there's a nice fixture. Where in the former format, sometimes there were evenings you're like, okay, tomorrow is a nicer game than today. But now, for example, with our game tomorrow, I think everybody who loves football is looking forward to that game. So that is the positive for the person that sits at home in front of his television. Is it going to be for the players with 2 extra games? How is it going to be exciting in the end of the group stage as well? That's something that we have to find out, and I don't think anyone has the answer to that at the moment. But if you ask me these questions in a few months, I can answer it probably much better than I can answer it now.
Yeah, it's a bit of wait and see for everyone regarding the new format, but it does add an extra dimension and maybe also keeps the players sharp, Jib, because you don't quite know what you need to do or how the format will impact on your chances of progressing.
Yeah, and we spoke about it before as well, about, you know, normally when you qualified as early as you do, hopefully you qualify quite early, you normally see a couple of young boys or the changes or more players get an opportunity to play the final game or two, where now, you know, you could be going down to game week 6, 7 or 8, not knowing, you know, what points you need to qualify in the top 8. And I'm sure obviously most teams will want to finish in that top 8 and not get the extra games as well. So, you know, it might have a few implications on the younger boys getting that time or the squad players getting time as well. So, you know, it's all new to everybody, not just Liverpool, you know, not just AC Milan. Every single club that are in this competition now are brand new, so they're going to have to take it week by week and just see how the results pan out. But, you know, Liverpool need to start clocking up points as quick as you can, and you'd rather have the points on the board rather than chasing.
At the end of the day, it's a football match that you want to go and win. As simple as that, isn't it? I get the fact there's a little bit more jeopardy because you're not quite sure like who the opposition is, and you've not obviously seen them on the home leg or the away leg. So but ultimately it's a football match that you want to win, and especially if you're Liverpool, you go into every game thinking that you're going to win a game. What
did we learn the weekend, or what did Anna Slot learn at the weekend, Gary?
I thought we were flat. I thought we looked a little bit jaded. I thought, in hindsight, he could have maybe changed it a little bit, starting 11, maybe given a few arrests because obviously a lot of travelling. But yeah, I think it just shows you that the Premier League is still a very, very, very strong league, and you know, when a team plays as well as what Nottingham Forest did, and when I say played well, they came with a game plan, they stuck to it, and they got the rewards from it. I mean, we didn't really look like scoring, in all fairness. We didn't create any real good opportunities. I mean, these are chances that you know, they're not chances, if you know what I mean. Liverpool are far better than that. So what we've seen so far early on this season, that they've created better opportunities than these that we see here. Maybe that was a good one, decent save. But you know, we didn't really threaten it as much as maybe what I thought we would have done.
Yeah, they were just frustrated. I guess every team needs to find its feet. Previous incarnations of this Liverpool side found ways to get goals late on. This team will need to do that as well. They might find themselves in a similar situation, need to find a way to find more answers.
Yeah, you know, we spoke about it at the game of the weekend, myself, and it just looked that we just ran out of ideas. I felt that we got to the final third, that the final pass wasn't quite, wasn't made, that the final decision was the wrong decision, or it didn't quite make the player. You have to give Forest credit. I mean, they defended exceptionally well, and you look at all them highlights there, practically the whole Forest team has sat in their box on most of our chances, and we just didn't seem to be able to break them down. And you know, them types of games you probably need to score early to really make Forest come out and put pressure on you.
Yeah, frustrating day at the office for Liverpool the weekend. Hopefully tonight will be better. OK, we're about to leave our viewers on social media. If you aren't a subscriber to LFC TV, then you can find out details of how to sign up online at liverpoolfc.com/watch. Our build-up continues after the break. Interviews with Alison Becker and Italian football expert James Horncastle are on the way. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff in the UK. We'll have live audio commentary with Steve Hunter and Neil Mellor. And at 10, Neil will join Jay and I to reflect on the game as well. And that post-match show will also be available to listen to in the reaction later on the club's official podcast platform. And you can watch the full game on LFC TV from midnight. And what other bit of content to point you in the direction of Inside? Well, that will land on our YouTube and Facebook channels tomorrow night. We'll have plenty of the behind-scenes footage from the San Siro. OK, when we come back from this short break, we'll continue our build to a cracker of a match day one of this season's Champions League. We're back soon.
One time português. Conquistamos toda a Europa, nós nunca vamos parar. apoiadores fiéis e nós viemos de Liverpool e vamos, vamos, vamos.